All right, wrestling fans, welcome to the very first ever podcast on Wrestling with Regret. I'm Jay Biggs alongside Brian Zane. What's up, man? How you doing?
You finally did it. You crazy bastard. You finally got me to do this podcast.
After years.
I've been saying for a long time. People ask me for a long time if you're going to do a podcast or I'm going to do a podcast. And I always said no because, like, one, I'm so busy with the YouTube channel itself, and two, what could we possibly do with a podcast that's different in the vast sea of wrestling podcasts? We don't have a name for this podcast right now, do we? Do we settle
I just think it's the Week in Regret.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
I think we're going to settle on Week in Regret, but it feels good. I'm glad to be here and sitting with you, Jay, and we're going to be trying this out. It's very, as Mauro Ranallo might say, it's an embryonic podcast. We're just kind of working out the kinks right now. We're getting our feet wet with this, and we want to hear from you, the viewers/listeners, what you want us to talk about more in this weekly endeavor we are now trying to get into.
Right. This is absolutely imperative that you guys go to the comment section below once you've listened. Tell us what you like, what you don't like, what you want to hear. And we're definitely going to take suggestions and try to do our best to give you guys content, because that's what we do. We do it for the content, right? So we're going to do the best for you guys to, give you something that you can listen to no matter what you're doing. Maybe you're at home, you're cooking, maybe you're in the shower, maybe you're on the toilet like a lot of people. Maybe you're driving or you're at work. Who knows? It doesn't matter. You can take Wrestling with Regret along with you, and it's something that you don't actually have to keep your eyes on the screen itself, which is kind of, that's kind of what I was going for a long time when I was talking to Brian about doing this podcast, was that, hey, there is a market out there for people that want to hear things, but, they don't always have time to physically look at their screen on their phone or their computer.
All right, funny story. I'm on the toilet right now, actually, as we're doing this recording.
Oh, no, don't even go there. This will be very awkward.
Yeah. But no, we're having fun here, and this is going to be kind of the format we're thinking of this with Week in Regret. It's kind of in the name. Like, we want to talk about the news and stories of the week, whereas on the channel usually I don't talk about rumor mill stuff. I don't talk about breaking news unless it's absolutely massive and monstrous. So right. It's it's going to be a different kind of thing, a different topics, different vibe than what you expect in the Raw, SmackDown, NXT reviews or whatever, or the Wednesday episodes. So this is a little bit different. That's how we're going to differentiate the Week in Regret from the other content that we're putting out here on the channel as of right now.
Absolutely. So it is going to be something new. So I think we might as well just go ahead and dive right on into it and get to the news for the week. Basically, as Brian said, it's going to be something a little bit new. So what we're going to do is the last 7 days, it's the last Week in Regret. We're going to just tell you guys the headlines that we think are important and talk about those subjects and just see where the conversation goes. There is no time limit. This isn't just a set 1 hour podcast or anything like that. It might go 1 hour, might go an hour and 30 minutes, might go 45 minutes. Who the hell knows? We're just going to have fun. Hopefully you guys do along with us as well. So, all right, I think we should go ahead and start with the big story this week. Summerslam has finally been confirmed by the WWE. Weeks and weeks of rumors. Is it going to be in Las Vegas? There was no other towns I was hearing of, and then Asuka seemingly gave it away hours before the announcement on a tweet, apparently. But I'm excited because obviously we're from Nevada, and I'm going to be actually going down with a buddy of mine, and we're going to go see the pay-per-view. I want to be inside this new Raiders stadium. I was expecting this to be because it's top of the line,
right. The shiny new stadium often gets like the first bids at these big shows.
Right.
Allegiant Stadium in Vegas. It sounds like it's going to be a big to-do. Excuse me. I don't know what the attendance for this is going to be. I think I heard something like 75,000 people is what they want for this. Is that correct?
I don't think that there's any capacity for it other than the stadium capacity.
That's wild. If true, that's wild. But I mean, it's really exciting. It's kind of like what we all kind of assumed was going to happen for a long time. They finally announced it this past weekend, and I was kind of excited at first because I was on the fence about it for a very long time, where it's like I like the idea of going to SummerSlam, and because it's within it's a drive, it's a day's drive, or it's a very short flight for me.
Right.
But also I hate going to Las Vegas in the middle of summer, especially August.
God.
It's triple digit heat in the middle of the night in Las Vegas.
If you don't know what it's like, imagine a bunch of hair dryers pointed at you blowing
all the time.
All the time. That's what it's like. That's what it reminds me of.
Your only respite is the casinos and the hotels, honestly.
Right.
So I was excited about the prospect of going back to Vegas. Vegas to watch SummerSlam because the last couple of times I'd been there for wrestling, because the last time was for my Ring of Honor tryout in late 2019, and then before that same year was Double or Nothing, and you were there.
Yeah, I was there for
that. So I was excited about it. However, something has come up in my schedule that is preventing me from going to SummerSlam this year. I can't announce it just yet because it's not been announced officially, so I don't want to give it away here just yet. It's not my job to do it. But when it does happen and when it's announced, I'll let you know. But that is the reason I will not be attending SummerSlam in Las Vegas this year.
Right. So, and I guess I'm going to be the person from Wrestling with Regret representing that weekend there, which is cool.
Along.
Yeah. So I'll be down there. Maybe I can give you guys some sort of report. I don't know. I'm not sure how it's all going to work that week, even with the Friday SmackDown thing, since I'm going to be down there Friday. So we will figure it all out. Believe me.
That will heavily impact our programming that weekend because I will not be able to cover the weekend stuff either for what I'm doing. I won't have time pretty much. I've learned from my mistakes. The last bubble I went on in Baltimore, I was like, oh yeah, I can do the ROH stuff and I can also do my channel work on the side. No, that was a fool's errand. There was no way I was going to be able to balance that because I didn't have the time or the energy by the end of those evenings to do anything work related.
So are we not going to cover SummerSlam at all?
I mean, we're going to have to.
We're going to do predictions at least.
We'll do predictions for sure. We're going to probably do a belated review on it. That's how it's going to have to be. And I know that...
A classic review by that point.
It will be classic, yeah. All the way back from 1 week ago. I hope it's not a week old.
No, good God, no.
It will happen because, the laws of YouTube wrestling channels kind of require it. So
right.
It'll be old hat. We'll be the last ones to come out with a review probably, but it will happen. The goal is, and we'll be giving you our same insight and hot takes on the pay-per-view and stuff. It'll just be a wee bit later.
There we go. Okay, and it will be a hot take, believe me, in Vegas in August. Okay, so let's go move on to our next subject, which is we are hearing rumors of John Cena returning to take on Roman Reigns at that pay-per-view. What do you think about those, Brian? I mean, do you think that's a hot match?
I mean, it could be. I will say we were there for the one and only John Cena Roman Reigns pay-per-view match at No Mercy.
Yes, absolutely, we were.
It was at...
That's also when Braun Strowman got squashed.
Yes, exactly. We remember it very well. It was, L.A., No Mercy. That was a fun weekend. And it was kind of cool to be witness to that one, what we thought was a one and only time. It could be twice in a lifetime this year.
Right.
If it happens, I'd love to know how they're going to explain John Cena coming back because he was basically blipped out of existence at the Firefly Funhouse match with Bray Wyatt last year. He jump cut out of frame, and he's except for a voiceover or two, and then that gag where where they were announcing the WrestleMania dates for the next few years.
Right.
There's been no John Cena on programming, and so I would be very interested in seeing how they're going to rationalize him coming back, what he will do to explain it. He's like, I was in the depths, I was in the Firefly Funhouse, I was in purgatory, but then, I waved my hand in front of my face.
Right. I just have a feeling like the night before, or maybe even the week after fans return, he's gonna come back or something.
That would be if we're gonna fantasize and fantasy book about big things for them to do once fans come back, I think that having John Cena return in person might pop the crowd.
And the first show,
just a little bit.
The first show is a SmackDown, Brian. So think about this: who else is on SmackDown, and who else thinks he runs the place? When John Cena's been the face of the place for how many years now, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, I can see the match. And my question is, do you think that John Cena will or will not acknowledge Taiwan?
Well, maybe not. Maybe on pay-per-view. Maybe behind a paywall he will. So
no, that's a whole other subject. But I mean, honestly, you think Cena will put him over if he comes back?
Absolutely. I mean, there's no reason not to. Let's bring John Cena back so we can beat the hottest act in WWE right now. I don't see that happening.
He's not Lesnar, so I guess so. That makes sense.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to our next subject. What do we got here on the list, Brian?
Well, the big story on NXT this week was that the $1 Million Championship is apparently going to return, starting at TakeOver on Sunday. Cameron Grimes and Los Angeles Knight fighting in the ladder match for the belt.
Oh, it's a ladder match. That's right.
The golden ladder descending, and
God.
I mean, I think honestly, this match is the one I'm most excited about for TakeOver. I'm not gonna lie.
Really? Of all the matches, that's it?
Pretty much. These are the characters I'm the most interested in right now, and honestly, I have to eat some crow because I was really wishy-washy on the Cameron Grimes rich hillbilly gimmick. It was honestly every other week. It was I love it. I'm sick of it. I love it. I'm sick of it. But then, like, once DiBiase finally got like involved personally and being there physically for these angles, it all kind of comes together. And Cameron has a foil in LA Knight, and yeah, it all kind of ties together now.
I'm just glad you watch NXT. I just don't through the week. You know, I do read some results and stuff, but you know, yeah, well, that's good, man. I think that's actually going to be a pretty good match. Knowing, well, we obviously know both of the competitors.
They're both very good. But you see, my only concern is that historically, the $1 Million Championship, if it's not held by DiBiase, then it doesn't matter. Because think of all of, like, you know, the rich history of champions. It's been Virgil. It's been the Ringmaster. A couple, maybe one or two other people. Maybe I'm forgetting. But it's just like it's a gimmick belt. It was designed for one man, and it just, you know, it's fun, I guess, to pass around, but. Unless there's already enough titles at NXT right now, I don't think you can put much weight behind the $1 Million Championship.
Do you think they made a new one, or do you think they're using the old one?
No, they showed the old one. They showed as far as we know, it's in the style of the old one.
Right. Okay.
On NXT this week, so who knows if it's a replica or the genuine article or whatnot. But I mean, you know, it's funny. Somebody actually commented on my NXT review video this week a really interesting idea, kind of making the $1 Million Championship similar to the X Division title in TNA, where if you win the belt, if you retain the belt enough times, then you can qualify, like, to trade it in for another championship match or something. Like, if you win 5 title defenses, then you can qualify for, you know, the Cruiserweight Championship or something, or the 10 defenses, the North American Championship. That would be an interesting kind of spin on it, and would make it unique and stand out, just besides the fact that it's a $1 Million Championship. But yeah, I think with LA and Cameron, it's kind of hard for me to envision either of them with the belt. In my predictions, I said Cameron Grimes is my pick to win. I could be wrong, but I think he'd be better suited with it, because I think you could have more fun with Cameron Grimes, the $1 Million Champion, than with LA Knight, the $1 Million Champion.
Right, absolutely, and I agree with that. All right, now here I'm going to go with the unpredictability of the podcast, and we're going to reverse back one day, because I know you don't really, you know, you're not obviously reviewing the Raws anymore. I don't know how much of it you do or don't watch. None of it? Okay, which is like a lot of people.
Why would I not review it and then also keep watching it? What kind of sadist do you think
Brian,
I am?
come on.
What kind of masochist do you think I am?
You're trying to make me do it.
Touché.
Right. Honestly, so I got to ask you, what is your opinion of the finish to Raw?
Yes, the scene with Lily and Shayna Baszler getting spooked. I just watched this before we recorded, and I gotta say, I don't hate it. I think it's stupid, yeah, but wrestling is stupid inherently. WWE is stupid, and sometimes they embrace the stupid more than others, and I can respect them for that. I'm not going to say this is the dumbest thing in wrestling, because how can we be okay, or how can we say, oh, this supernatural spooky thing with Bray Wyatt is cool, but like then this other supernatural spooky thing with Alexa Bliss like doesn't get the same treatment. I'm not saying it was great. I'm going to say that right now. People are going to kind of...
Well, no, hold on. As I said in my review, I didn't hate the segment either. I thought it was kind of... That's the best they can do without... and how would I say it? They have the Thunderdome now, but before they didn't have fans when they were doing all the cinematic matches. But that's as close to being cinematic as you can have in an arena.
That was very cinematic, and it makes you wonder, they can't get away with doing stuff like this anymore once fans are back, because there's a lot of cuts, and there's a lot, clearly not all done in one take.
Right, absolutely.
But as far as the scene goes of Shayna Baszler getting spooked and everything, you know, she's already lost so many matches. It's not like it's going to be a betrayal of character that she gets a little spooked by this like creepy supernatural doll at this point. Like it's all building to something, it seems.
It's just listen, for how many weeks now people have been saying Alexa Bliss is 12 years old apparently. Now she's the same age, you know. Yeah, she's acting 12 too.
She's kind of
scared of dolls.
I just think it's not, you know, people have been complaining, oh, it's the worst thing ever. It's like there have been dumb endings to Raw for as long as I've been watching, man. I've been watching since the good old days of '98. And I couldn't tell you, I remember vividly watching the end of Raw one time when Yamaguchi-san took his samurai sword and then...
Choppy PP?
Right, to Val Venus. That cold chopping block.
Was that the main event, though?
That was the final thing.
Was it?
There was something going on with Austin and Undertaker, and then we cut back to stage and we see, Miss Yamaguchi-san being held back by Kai and Tai as Yamaguchi-san, the elder, is about to chop Val Venus' dick off. So don't tell me that Alexa Bliss scaring Shayna Baszler with a doll is the worst ending to Monday Night Raw, because there's a rich history of that sort of stuff.
I guess so. That was my thing in the review, I said I didn't want to see it as the main event was all. So I thought the segment was good. I just didn't see it as what they should end Raw with. But now that you say that, I kind of understand and I see.
I mean, I like ending shows on cliffhangers. I think I think you need that just to draw people in to keep watching. I think it would have been less impactful and less powerful if it was not the ending of the show.
So let me ask you, predictions. What do you think on Monday? Just from seeing that, what do you think is going to be the explanation?
Well, as far as an explanation, I couldn't tell you, but as far as fallout from this, I wouldn't be surprised if we see Shayna Baszler looking visibly shaken, like kind of, the color's gone from her skin and everything. She's just kind of like, not like face paint. I'm just telling she's very traumatized.
She already has that on.
Very traumatized by what she saw or what she experienced, and I think they'll kind of dive into more of that. I think
she's possessed, maybe
not possessed, and maybe not yet, but I could see her maybe kind of being, you gave me an idea though, maybe she could be kind of like the muscle for Alexa Bliss. Because Alexa, for whatever the reason, not wrestling a whole lot these days. So maybe get Shayna to kind of like be her servant. And like, it's really interesting, like maybe it's this weird expansion of the lore of the Fiend, because that's how Alexa got this way in the first place, was the Fiend like poisoned her mind, or she gave her these powers or something. And like, what if they're kind of taking this from Bray and now making it Alexa's thing? Like, there's a lot of different ways you can go with this, and I'm not saying it's all inherently bad. I'm not saying it's all inherently good. It's just they're trying, and they're going to see what works. I'm not saying this segment was great, but you know what? It wasn't as bad as people are saying on Twitter either.
All right, so on to our next subject. The NWA, at least Billy Corgan and, his associates.
Whoever he has left at this point.
Yeah, well, he actually has at least one good person I'm about to tell you about. They've announced that they are doing 2 big pay-per-views coming up in St. Louis. One of them is going to be an all-women's pay-per-view, and this is going to bring in the good name that I was talking about, Mickie James. So she's going to be producing the pay-per-view, apparently. So at least they've got somebody that has some good experience, from wrestling.
Absolutely.
And then the very next night, they're going to do the 73rd anniversary for the NWA as well. So a 2-night pay-per-view event going on for the NWA coming up in St. Louis.
Oh, I just got a cold chill when you mentioned anniversary show, because I think back to the 70th anniversary show and how much of a garbage fire that was.
Oh, I don't remember.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll tell you about that. But going back to the women's pay-per-view, I think that's a really interesting move by Corgan and the NWA. It's kind of a market that's not really tapped right now, because WWE had Evolution a few years ago. They put like no money and time and thought into it, and it was what it was, and they've never done a sequel. And so, I think there is a market for, bringing back a women's pay-per-view, like on a larger level, because obviously we've seen all women's pay-per-views. Shimmer has done it for 100 years. They've been around for a while. And so the concept is not new, but for NWA it is. I think that's really cool. It's a really cool move by Billy Corgan to do that. Mickie James is a longtime veteran. She knows her stuff, and she is going to be great, I think, producing this. And I'm going to say that this is, just seeing that generation of women wrestlers getting to give back to wrestling, I'm seeing signs of it, not just with Mickie James, but also you've got Maria Kanellis, who's got a heavy hand in Ring of Honor's women's division right now, which is making a bit of a resurgence with Women's Division Wednesdays and things like that. And they're doing the Women's Championship Tournament, and Maria is very heavily involved in that. So I think it's great that you've got these ladies who still have so much to give in the industry, one way or another, and I think it's going to be a great opportunity for those ladies and anyone else in that position who can contribute.
My only concern for the NWA in this would have to be, and maybe you can tell me, who do you think is going to be on this roster? Honestly, who do they have that's going to draw enough to make a pay-per-view out of it is my question.
Well, you know what? I think it's going to ride heavily on promotion and marketing, and not just from the NWA itself, but also from the participants, where they're going to have you have to pound the pavement on social media to really drive marketing for this. Off the top of my head, I couldn't tell you who's not, what female wrestlers aren't signed, and who could be part of this show. I don't know. I'm not familiar with all the lady wrestlers who are out there. I know Camille just won the NWA Women's Championship. There's Serena Deeb. There's Thunder Rosa. I bet you get Willow Nightingale on there, and that'd be a good time, because she's an awesome wrestler and a great gal as well. Real sweetheart. There's lots of people I think you could probably get for this. The indie scene is not as bereft of lady wrestlers as you might expect, because of course WWE tries to scoop all those ladies up, and AEW's been doing it as well. well.
Right.
But there's got to be some ladies who are out there who are kind of like not signed, who are free agents and can kind of go around and stuff. You could conceivably build a women's pay-per-view out of who's available right now, and I think it could be entertaining. I'm definitely like...
Oh, I don't doubt it's going to be entertaining. Yeah. I'm just wondering if it's enough star power to draw pay-per-view buys.
Right. That's going to be that's a real big if. And I think it's very bold of them to do the women's pay-per-view before the anniversary pay-per-view. Because if I were Billy Corgan, I would start out with the bam, like here's the NWA Legacy, boom, anniversary show, and then do the women's pay-per-view, like market that at the pay-per-view, and just to get try to get a few extra eyeballs on that.
I think just looking at it in reality, I think it's like NXT TakeOver on Saturday night.
And then the bigger show.
Big pay-per-view
okay, I could see that too, yeah. But as far as like the prospects of it, I mean, those pay-per-views can't be much worse than the 70th anniversary show where like there's camera problems, audio problems, not terrific booking either from my recollection of it.
Oh, dear Lord. Right. Well, you're going to have to tell me that story eventually. All right, so taking a look at our news, here for this week in Wregret. What else we got, Brian?
Andrade debuted for AEW. Andrade El Idolo, or Andrade El Idolo, as like so many people had a hard time pronouncing. Yeah. Just sing the Jungle Boy song. But no, here's the thing. I think it's great that Andrade found a place to land, and I think he'll do well in AEW.
Yeah.
But man, could you pick a more underwhelming way to debut somebody with AEW? I mean, first of all, he's aligned himself with Vicky Guerrero, who I'm sure is a great lady, but I don't think him associating with her is gonna I don't think it's gonna help him. He doesn't need someone to talk for him. You could hear in the promo he speaks English perfectly well.
Well, she got over the likes of Edge and
Eric Escobar.
And Eric Escobar. Yes. Oh my God, I forgot about that guy.
Yeah. So not only that, but then he comes out and there's no music. There's no fanfare for him. If he's this big deal, treat him like a big deal. Oh my God, they totally dropped the ball with his debut.
Yeah, didn't he shoo out Tony Schiavone and the Big Show out of the ring or something like that?
I can't recall exactly, but I mean, it was just a really underwhelming debut. There's a half dozen other ways you could have done with very little thought beforehand that would have been more effective than how they debuted Andrade.
I'm getting to the point, because I wanted to give benefit of the doubt to AEW, I'll tell you, but I am getting to the point where I'm having as much, belief in their booking as I am WWE's that they're going to do the right thing sometimes.
Right. I mean, and no one's perfect. No one bats 1,000 in booking. And AEW, they have their problems as well. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. They've got issues. Every promotion has their strengths and weaknesses when it comes to booking. Apparently, debuts is one of them for AEW because, how many debuts have we seen in the last couple of years for this company where it's oh man, they totally whiffed that. I can still remember Double or Nothing 2019 and how they just how weird and awkward everyone felt when Stu Grayson and Evil Uno showed up in the middle of the ring to debut what we now know as the Dark Order. Think of that evolution. Think of how they debuted and how over the Dark Order is now. It was not the same scenario in 2019.
I don't. Are they over?
Oh yeah, Dark Order. God, they're
I don't want to say that, but I mean,
the Dark Order. I think is one of the most overacts in the company.
Really? I thought everybody was getting sick of them until
Well, when Brody Lee came along, he kind of changed that perception, and you could argue there's a lot of
I haven't kept up.
There's a lot of goodwill, a lot of good karma toward the Dark Order, and I think Brody Lee honestly has a lot to do with that. But also they're just fun characters, and I think that their evolution of characters on BTE, for example, and how they became a more plucky, lovable cult has played a big role into them being one of the most popular acts in AEW now. But to go back to the original thing of how AEW is just constantly and consistently just messed up on debuts. That is a problem of theirs, and I think their debuts often depend on the fans having an intimate knowledge of the independent scene, which honestly, that's still a big hurdle for them to climb.
Yeah, I absolutely agree, and that's why their numbers, honestly, are how they are. So that's another thing.
That's a part of it, and we'll talk about that because the AEW numbers this last episode came back 426 or 46,000.
Yikes!
It's a low number. Yeah, AEW's been on Fridays for the last few weeks. That's one big reason I've not been able to cover it is because I don't work Fridays. That's my new rule. So it's just it's shocking to see when you saw how they were pushing 1 million on Wednesdays, especially once NXT moved to Tuesdays. Like, Wednesdays is a great day for AEW, and now these numbers are just bad numbers comparatively. And a lot of the AEW haters are going to say, "Oh, it's excuses." Yeah, we know what? A lot of people made excuses for WWE too, so it's not a one-way street, friends.
No.
And so yeah, I think the move to Fridays and the fact they air later in the night than they typically do are two big reasons.
Is this a permanent move to Friday right now?
No.
Or is this just the playoffs?
I think it's the playoffs is the reason it's moved here, and they're going to move back to Wednesdays, I would hope, in the next couple of weeks.
I will so be interested to see what the numbers look like when they go back to Wednesday. There are those kind of people who are just like, fuck them.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I'm one of them, where I would watch AEW on Wednesdays, and I had no problem with that. But yeah, my Fridays are too valuable. They're too valuable to me now for me to watch wrestling and for work, and so
I'll do it then.
Yeah, right. That's why you're here, Jay. That's why I pay you the big bucks is to review SmackDown.
Absolutely, man.
Yeah, so it's interesting to see how SmackDown's ratings are doing well under this current thing, and it's not an issue of like, oh, they're beating AEW specifically because they're airing at different times, so it's not exactly 1-to-1 anymore. But something
has to be said when you're at 2 million viewers. Versus 450,000. So
yeah, no, that's true. I think that AEW, it's going to be on them to like really come back in a big way once they go back to Wednesdays. I'm not excited about their prospects for AEW Rampage because I think that's going to be a Friday night show. We'll see how that is. But if
that's going to be their thunder, dude.
Right. If Dynamite is the cash count, if Dynamite's the A show, then I guess I'd be a little more accepting of Rampage not having as good of numbers. But it's going to be interesting to see what happens the next, once they make that transition back to Wednesdays. Friday has not been good for AEW. And that's basically the only thing you can say about it. And people can say, oh, these are excuses, but I mean, these are legitimate reasons. It's not their typical air night. It's at not their typical time. And Fridays are hard. They're historically hard to really get a foothold for ratings because there's a million other things people would rather do on their Friday nights.
I love it. One of the things Brian said to me years ago that just always has stuck with me is whenever you're doing an indie wrestling show, what is the competition for that indie show? Literally anything else.
Exactly. and it's not the other promotion in town.
No.
It's not even WWE. It's your phone. It's your TV. It's going to shows. Of course, this is assuming we're not in a pandemic. It's all these different things. And it's not like it was in the 70s and 80s where if you lived in a small town and the only thing you could do on a Friday night was go bowling or do meth, you've got... Right. So wrestling is the thing, and Friday nights are hard, and just running wrestling shows. This running wrestling shows are hard because you got to compete with literally everything else, and that's just the reality of the situation.
Yeah, that's right. I always say the stars, the moon, the sun, everything has to align perfectly to even get a wrestling fan to go to your indie show.
Yeah,
it's really weird. All right, what's our next subject, Brian?
Well, you're the host, man. You tell me. Let's talk about this one right here.
Okay, Lio Rush?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Lio Rush.
That's the big story here.
Okay, yeah. He's retired again?
He's retired again, apparently. He
got a shoulder injury, a shoulder separation on AEW Dynamite?
It was a double or nothing. I believe he hurt himself.
Okay.
Boy, that Joker card sure seems to be cursed, because remember when Matt Sydal debuted with the Joker card? And he almost ate shit. Almost killed himself in the Shooting Star Press right away. Now we hear that Lio injured his shoulder in that same Battle Royal 1 year later. And, I can't speak for Lio Rush, but, there seems to be some correlation between the injury and his announcement of retiring.
I can't imagine why a shoulder separation would keep you from the world of wrestling.
Well, you know what? Every person is different, and everyone's got their limits and what they're kind of willing to accept before making a change like that. So who knows? Maybe it's the shoulder injury. Maybe it's something else. I'm not going to say definitively what it could be. That's his story to tell. It is disappointing. I don't see this being permanent because, one, no one ever really retires in wrestling. Two, he's still very young, and once the shoulder heals, maybe he'll get that itch again or for whatever reason. So
he will. He's way too young.
Yes, for Lio to retire, it is a bummer. If he does hold true with it, then it's a big bummer because he has a lot of potential, and I think they really didn't treat him well in WWE by the end. So I could see him making a comeback and doing some things in the future down the line, but just not now. So it's unfortunate timing.
Okay, well, as one leaves, one comes back. Let's talk about next Kylie Rae. She's back in Impact.
Yes, apparently the deal is allegedly she has signed a deal and back in Impact Wrestling. This is somebody who has also had a lot of comings and goings in the last couple of years, and I think a lot of it boils down to what it basically comes down to mental health is her reasoning for having taken these breaks. And so it's easy for people to make jokes and say, oh, she'll be back, oh, I'll see her, she'll be gone again in 10 weeks or whatever. And like, people say that, but that's pretty mean because, again, mental health affects everybody differently. You don't know what this person's going through compared to that person. Right. Whatever you're going through is not the same as what somebody else is going through.
Absolutely not.
So I am not about to start, digging on Kylie for, coming and going for these mental health reasons. I think the more mental health is and the caring of that is less stigmatized and more more accepted as reasons to take time off. Was it that the tennis player Naomi Osaka, I believe her name is?
Yeah.
She just took time off tennis for mental health, and I think that's a perfectly valid reason. People take breaks for this stuff. And I think they should take more breaks
absolutely
all the time. So if Kylie is ready to get back into it, and if she's in a good place, and if she's in a position where she can follow her passion for wrestling,
God bless her.
More power to her. Absolutely.
Well, so I guess I want to ask you with this now. I mean, do you think that because her character, I always looked at it as like the Bayley indie character. So am I right in thinking that maybe this character is going to be a little bit better embraced now that we don't have another person on SmackDown doing the same shit, basically?
I'm seeing double for Baileys.
Right.
And I think that you are very right. You're not wrong, because I think that when Kylie first made her mark in AEW for the brief time she was there and her indie run, there are definitely some Bayley vibes there in terms of she's very happy and bright and bubbly, and the kids like her and everything. Right. So yeah, there's definitely comparisons. I'm not going to say that she was a Bayley ripoff, but there are some similarities there. But you're right. Now that Bayley has embraced her darker side and she's not the bubbly, happy person she was, now
there's more room.
Kylie can corner the market in that kind of gimmick. I think she does it very well, and but she doesn't have to be resorting to just doing that. She doesn't have to be one dimensional. She can be whatever she wants, and if she wants to, embrace the bubbly side, that's great. Or if she wants to put more of an edge to her character, that's also great. So time will tell how she plays her character out, but I think that the sky's the limit as to what she can do. And again, as long as she is happy where she is, and as long as she can, keep plugging away, then I'm very excited to see what she can offer.
All right. So next subject, I want to talk just a little bit about Elias and Ryker. We saw some news earlier today. We were kind of going over some headlines. Apparently, they're going to start pushing Jackson Ryker as babyface.
Yes, we've seen inklings of it. Yeah,
we have. But I was trying to figure it out because I was like, well, wait a minute, because they had him pulling at the beard and still doing some heel moves and stuff. I was like, what are they going to make him kind of a tweener? And one of the guys in my review actually for Monday night, he said it perfectly. He said, I'm not really sure. One of the things with Raw now is who I'm supposed to cheer for.
Yeah, that's it's and the Thunderdome can only go so far in helping kind of push fans to react a certain way. Because the canned crowd noise is not the actual genuine feeling.
This has been ideal though for WWE, because I told you they're going to push whoever the hell they want to push anyway.
Yeah, no, and I think Vince, the crowd noise might as well be Vince McMahon. He'd be the one controlling the yays and the boos. So it's going to be really interesting to see how Ryker, or anyone for that matter, is perceived once live human beings actually return to buildings and stuff and to shows.
I just had a great thought. Could you imagine listening to a complete episode of Raw or SmackDown and not the commentators team, but Vince is in the headset just to hear what he was saying?
I would love to hear some weird, someone's tapped into the headset feed and you hear Vince's.
Right.
I would pay top dollar. I'm not just talking about the guy from Hit Row. I'm talking top dollar for just an extended commentary track of Vince McMahon just yelling at people, yelling at the commentators in the middle of their camera time on programming. But as far as Ryker being a face, the henchman leaves, the other guy becomes a babyface. That's a tale as old as time.
Right.
I'm not surprised Ryker's being pushed as a face as a result of that. The only question is why? What has Ryker done other than not being associated with Elias anymore to justify being cheered? That's the real thing. So the real test of any babyface push or any turn, and I've talked about this. Well, say for example when a team breaks up and it's always like the partner was holding me back, and he was carrying me. I had to carry him on my back, and so that whole feud is built on that relationship between the newly turned heel and the old partner. And the biggest test is what that heel then does afterward, because we got to see how he can react and interact with other wrestlers who are not his former best friend, for example.
Right, absolutely.
So we can see how Bayley, for example, bounced back after the feud with Sasha Banks, because that whole feud was built on the betrayal and the former best friend thing. Bayley has done a very good job, and she's been written very well as to what the next thing is in her heel turn and her run as a heel.
Right.
So on the inverse, Jackson Ryker, whatever you want to call him, what happens to him after his feud with Elias will greatly impact how people receive him as a face.
Well, as I said on the Raw review, I just felt like this was very pushed. I mean, maybe it's me. When tag teams break up, it's like how the Rockers broke up, and then you have a big match at a pay-per-view or something. But maybe that's just old school. Things are progressing faster now on TV and stuff. But I just didn't feel like... I don't know. I just felt like maybe they should save the match or something. Maybe they have like a guitar on a pole match or something.
Oh, yeah. That's
I don't
for
know.
SummerSlam. I bet you they're saving that for SummerSlam. They're going to have a guitar and a pole match, you know?
Well, as I said...
And we'll have Honky Tonk Man and Jeff Jarrett at ringside just cheering them on. Like in the,
That's it? No Rick Boogs?
Yeah. Cut to the legends. Yeah.
The Friday Night Elias?
We got to find out. We got to try and find all the different, guitarist acts in wrestling, because there's
Mountain Rock.
Man Mountain Rock's one of them. No, the Dynamite dudes had skateboards, not guitars.
Jeff Jarrett,
yeah, and Honky and Elias, and yeah, there's a whole stable you can make of guitar wielding. It feels like a Saturday morning cartoon gone horribly wrong, where it's like this.
I just see a bunch of them. Anyway,
or it's like the Power Rangers, they get their super powered guitars, and one's got the flying V, and the other one's got the silver one for NWO. And
I just saw the mole hole, when you go to the arcade and they have the things that pop up and you
whack-a-mole.
Somebody just slamming them with the guitars. But anyway.
Oh my God! Can we please have WWE marketed guitar swinging whack-a-mole games? Or the alligator ones. You remember the alligator ones that would pop out? Yes. I would love to see a guitar weapon kind of arcade game.
Featuring Skinnerd.
Yeah. Oh my God. Please. Somebody who knows how to make arcade games. Somebody please work on that.
That would be great. All right, and to close the show out here, or actually podcast, there we go.
Yeah.
Let's talk about our last subject, Braun Strowman. So Braun Strowman obviously released along with the Superstars a couple weeks back now or so.
Yeah.
He is apparently asking for 5 figures on the indie scene. Now, I don't know if there's anybody that I would ever pay 5 figures to be on my indie shows, just as a guy who's booked shows before. But what do you think? I mean, this is not unheard of. Rey Mysterio was getting $20,000 for appearances.
Yeah, well, I would say this: Braun Strowman is not Rey Mysterio. I will say
he's
that.
not. And if you had a Latino crowd, I get it. But just being, as I told you when we were kind of talking before we went on air here, I just personally, I would much rather see Braun Strowman at a show right now than Rey Mysterio, because he's just so hot and fresh released.
I think Strowman on the Indies would be very fascinating to watch. But I mean, I don't know if
especially after what he said about the Indies.
I'm not sure how welcome he would be on the Indies, especially with his comments about it. But I will tell you, somebody is gonna pay him that money. I guarantee you, some money mark out there is gonna lick his lips and see that we gotta get Braun Strowman on our show at the fairgrounds this weekend.
Probably gonna be him and Eric Rowan in a Wyatt family match or something. Yeah. Just something. I'm serious.
We're gonna get some reunions on the Indies for sure here. I think that Strowman. I mean, hey, you know what? The market wants what it wants. And if he can get bookings for 5 figures, then God bless him, because he has found his worth. And and you know what? In wrestling, you are your own biggest advocate. And so if Strowman can get that money, then good for him, man. I just think that's a real tall order, especially in these days where the Indies are, the Indies I think are starting to thrive again, but hey, not that much thriving.
Right.
Not 5 figures thriving.
You would think after his schedule though and stuff, he's probably good with chilling at home. That's why he's putting his price tags so far up.
Yeah, exactly. He doesn't need the money. It's kind of a big thing where it's if you want to pay me the money, sure, but if you don't, it's like he's basically putting an artificial wall on himself, where it's he'll do it for the money, but if you don't gonna pay it, then he won't be bothered. And that's his mindset, and whatever, he can have that if he wants. I think Strowman will get a couple of indie dates based off this, and maybe he'll lower his price podcast eventually, but he's kind of going the Ryback route. Wasn't Ryback also charging an exorbitant amount of money once he got released?
Maybe. Dude, I really don't remember, to be honest, much about Ryback.
And I would probably, actually, I would pay 5 figures for Strowman over Ryback. I would say that. Over the two of them.
Well, yes, absolutely, for sure. Not a question about it. But who knows? Hopefully Braun Strowman doesn't put up a Twitter poll like Ryback did, though. Might find out that nobody wants him back or something.
That was the best self-own I'd seen in wrestling in a long time. I thought it was a joke. It was just.
I did too. I did too. I was like, what the hell? But anyway, I wouldn't even release the Twitter poll at that point. I would have been like, something happened. The poll crashed. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't even release those results.
So
anyway.
Needless to say, my stance on that is, Strowman can ask what he wants, and if the market's willing to pay him, then that's on them.
That's right, absolutely. Well, you know what, man? I mean, it's time to go ahead and wrap it on up right now. This Week in Regret has been fun, at least for me and you, I think.
I had a great time. Feels very natural and comfortable just talking shop and talking wrestling with you. Not to be confused with talking shop, because that's not what we are.
Right. But
this is my property, but this is not.
Right. No, but to be honest with you, this is what we do anyways when we're not on screen together. Is we pretty much bullshit wrestling.
We just talk wrestling all the time.
We're definitely a couple of smarky wrestling nerds.
You're right.
So we just want to release content that you guys love and enjoy. So we want you to go to the comment section below. Please tell us what you do and don't like, what you do want to hear. It's really imperative that you guys are involved in the evolution, I guess you would say, of the Week in Regret podcast here.
Yes, and hopefully future episodes will not have the sound of a saw in the background. I hope they didn't get picked up on this microphone, but there is some work being done on my front yard as we speak, and so I apologize that got picked up, but they're wrapping up today, so hopefully there will not be any power tools in the background in episodes going forard. Right. But yes, thank you very much for listening, and yes, by all means, lay into us with commentary and critiques and notes, and just let us know what you want to get more out of with the Week in Regret. This is going to be sticking more to topical, like broader wrestling news, not so much about this channel and not so much about like nitpicking weekly shows unless there's some big moments.
Right, absolutely. And one thing you can do as well to help us out here at the show is go to the Patreon page, wrestlingwithregret/Patreon, correct?
Patreon.com/wrestlingwithregret.
Oh, okay. Well, that was my dyslexic explanation. Go there, and for as little as $1 a month, you can subscribe, and that's where you can give your input on a lot of things, such as like Brian's classic pay-per-views that he reviews and all that kind of stuff too. We have the Pro Wrestling Tees store. You can check out the link below for that.
One thing I want to say about the Patreon thing, though, and this is a big reason I was kind of like hesitant about a podcast from the very beginning, is because I do a Q&A audio every month. And it's basically the closest thing I've done to a podcast in the entire run of this channel. And so one thing I don't really want to do is muddy the waters between like this, for example, and the Q&A. But the Q&A will be a Q&A. And
I was going to say, the good news is nobody asked you any questions. We just went off the hip with this.
That's right. So I think that'll be kind of the differentiation. I've been kind of thinking of the idea of kind of like tweaking the Patreon perks for a bit, maybe doing away with the Q&A and maybe doing more of like a Zoom meeting, something like that with some fans of a certain tier, but that's all. I'm still workshopping it. But yeah, I think after listening to this today and like kind of comparing it to what I do on Patreon, I feel more comfortable doing this podcast because it is different enough. It's the Q&A is not necessarily me espousing on weekly topics all the time. So this will be a nice separation, and the more we do it, the more comfortable I'm going to get. And why not? Let's dive in. Let's add ourselves to the sea of wrestling podcasts.
And one other thing I need to make sure I mention too is we have said, yes, please give your input on what you do and don't like. But another thing that you need to put your input in is, where should we place this podcast? We're still trying to debacle between all the different platforms where we should put this. YouTube seems natural because that's where our big audience is YouTube. So we're going to see how that works out. But if there's other places you think it would be good for us to place this podcast, please, as well, in the comment section below, let us know what you think might be best, and we're going to be going through these comments, believe me.
Mm-hmm. Interesting use of the word debacle, by the way. I think you meant debate.
Well, it is a debacle, damn it. Where are we placing
Well, we don't want this to be a debacle. That's the point. No. So, we're looking at Spotify, we're looking at iTunes, we're still trying to figure out how those channels work and everything. But yes, I think we're going to try and share the space on the podcast platforms and on YouTube. But let us know what you listen to and how you listen to podcasts, and and that will help influence the influencer and the influencer's friend about where this week in regret will land.
Absolutely. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, I think it's time to go ahead and wrap it up. I want to say thank you all for joining us, and we will be back, I think, each and every Wednesday. Is that what we're going to shoot for?
Yeah, Wednesdays, Thursdays, and we're recording this on a Wednesday right now, so Wednesday, Thursday, that's the kind of window we're thinking about this right now.
Right, absolutely. So something to look forward to in the future. It's been great talking with you guys. We'll be back. I got a Friday night audio SmackDown review coming up as well this week, and we will see you next time.
No, Jay. We'll talk to you next time.